Hello, and to those of you joining for the first time, welcome to the return of my speedrun reports in an entirely new format. This is almost all of the Oculus weekly challenges for Aspire 1 in June of 2022. And this first one here, the Gigas Sneaking challenge, is one of a few challenge missions that I actually find a little bit frustrating. And that's just because on missions with a time of less than 5 seconds, you really have to push yourself to the limit, as the times at the top of the leaderboard are going to be very close and very competitive, which resulted in me spending as much time resetting this mission as I did actually playing it. This particular one is deceptively hard, as halfway across the room you have to thread the needle by going under the materials, hanging from the rafters, but high enough not to touch your bottom out on the cargo container. This one ended up being incredibly close, but unfortunately I wasn't able to bridge that 0.09 seconds and ended up having to settle for second place next to the flying pig. The second week was the red leg hostage rescue, and as you can see here, this one's a timed mission, so speed is of the essence. One of the things I really enjoy about time is that you can cut loose and be absolutely careless, sponging up incoming fire and indulging in my propensity for hosing enemies with bullets as you go. Typically, some of the speedruns that I enjoy the most involve the incredibly advanced tactic of screaming and running while under fire. There are, of course, the usual suspects at the top of the leaderboard, including Ham Snadwich and the Flying Pig. Our third weekly challenge is Iranius, a person of interest challenge, which are always very fascinating to do, whether they're scored by time or scored by expenditure. This very quickly becomes an escort mission for an unconscious body. There's actually one other major challenge mission in the month of June, but that one's getting its own video just because of how difficult it was to struggle my way up the leaderboard. This challenge came with its own particular set of hurdles though, including the fact that in this area and the area beyond, the person of interest was really prone to popping out of the player's hand. Unfortunately, more than a few very promising runs were killed by this, as the person of interest would often not only slip out of the player's grip, but immediately wake up and alert the guards. One of the things I've really enjoyed about the Oculus weekly challenges, when I have the time to do so, is climbing to the top of the leaderboard early in the week to see who beats that score and by how much. This challenge was very strongly fought for by Alpha 1 Oz, and as I set that first rank 1 on the Monday of the challenge, I was very delighted to see that by Wednesday the score I had set had been quite handily bested. This, of course, is ever the strong motivation for me to get continually better and try and make a much better rebuttal run to take back the rank 1 and keep the challenge going. Certainly, the spirit of one-upsmanship that I find on the leaderboards has been a very fun, enjoyable driving force for me as I continue to attempt to better my skills. My motivation was particularly strong here, as the layout for this map is partially an excerpt from the sometimes hotly contested story mission 1.6. Something you might notice on the leaderboard top 10 on this particular challenge this week is Kmori12, who is both a fantastic person and an excellent streamer whose content I highly recommend checking out on Twitch. Now this run here is going to be our last run of this particular mission because, as you can see, after we take off our helmet, we've noticed that Alpha 1 Oz has given us permission to, quote, move in for the kill. And of course, what am I, if not happy to oblige? There is one little trick that we've actually been saving, and after putting our controllers back on, we're going to change the routing up a little bit. So maintaining tight movements, we're actually going to skip the stairs up entirely and come up and over the shelving this time. This should be a slightly faster route up to the hostage, and we are going to reverse direction, cutting across and flinging ourselves diagonally to use the stairs and make our way down. That way we can avoid getting caught up on the fiddly partition and go for a much cleaner, smoother version of the same route simply by reversing it. Unfortunately, that particular run ended up being done late on a Saturday, and so sadly Alpha didn't get much time to try and create some sort of rebuttal. However, it was still a well-fought challenge and eclipsed only by a rematch with Hamsnad, which is going to be released as a separate part 2 video next week. If you have some time, let me know in the comments below what you think of the new format, and be sure to check out next week's video. Until then, I'll see you on the leaderboards.